So there are three areas of exploration that we're going to deal with. We're going to talk about feature, and Ian is all over that. We're also going to talk about benefit, and we're going to talk about your passion. Now, as I said, primarily this is going to be your personal message, but if you get the concepts down, if you understand the concepts, it becomes easier to work in a small group with your chapter and develop chapter features, chapter benefits, chapter passions. Your features and benefits can be all kinds of stuff, but you want to kind of set it down to corporately, what are our features and benefits? And then what's the passion that's behind everything that we do? So why is your message so important? Well, part of the reason that your verbal message, your verbal business card is important is because people remember what they hear better than what they see. They retain what they hear longer than they retain what they see. Now, the University of Washington did a report many, many years ago, and Northwestern did a parallel study that Paul Harvey reported on. This was on his broadcast many years ago.
Elizabeth Loftus, psychologist, University of Washington, from controlled laboratory studies has concluded that among the human senses, the ear is more significant than the eye. Individual with loss of sight, tested alongside subjects with loss of hearing, presented with a list of words visually and auditorily, and the words were remembered best by individuals who could hear the words rather than by those who could see them. In this respect, yes, she says, the ear is superior to the eye. When the eye takes in some picture or visual information, the image registers in iconic memory for 1 second, maybe 2. When the ear takes in the information, it fades away much more slowly, 4 to 5 seconds. A parallel study at Northwestern University compared television and radio. It concluded that if you deliver a verbal message about your shampoo, people are much more persuaded than if you give them only a picture of your product. And significant to us in advertising, people are much more persuaded to buy as a result of a verbal message. Marketing strategist Jack Trout says advertisers now spend 55% of their dollars on eye media and 45% on ear media, and he suggests they're doing it backward. Confucius is said to have said 1 picture is worth 1,000 words. And yet it's interesting, isn't it? What we remember about Confucius is not what he looked like, but what he said. Page 3.
So basically, that's the idea. And if you've ever studied anything about how memory works and things like that, the ears are actually the closest part to your brain. So the information gets to your brain quicker, to the frontal lobe, where you can actually pay attention to what's being said. And verbal communication is the oldest form of communication, and we're kind of hardwired to deal in verbal. When you do a television commercial, the first thing you do is you write the commercial, and then you add the visuals to go with it. So writing the message becomes very important. So the question is, how do you get started? Well, you need to know a few things. You need to identify a few things about your chapter. You need to know who you are. You need to know what you are. You need to understand your features and your benefits. You need to understand, to start with, what your passion is for doing this. Why are you passionate about whatever it is that you do? And each one of us is going to have a slightly different passion for why they attend their chapter meetings, why they participate, and why they look forward to Tuesday night. If Tuesday night, or whatever night you rehearse on, is just the Tuesday night habit, then it's probably not fulfilling. If you can't wait for Tuesday, or if you can't wait till Wednesday, and you are champing at the bit, your chapter probably has something going that's going really well. And there's some passion in that structure that's important to you. So you need to understand what your chapter offers. You need to understand some of your chapter's strengths, and you need to understand the passion that's behind what you do. So we're going to start off here with features and benefits, and this is my definition, not Webster's definition. But a feature is a noun, a prominent or conspicuous part of or characteristic. The shorthand is a feature is what something has. A benefit is what something does for me. So it's relatively easy. The nuts and bolts of this whole thing is a feature is what something has. A benefit is what something does for me. And we're talking very personal at this point. So a feature is what something has. A benefit is what something does for me. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to jot down some thoughts, and I'm going to give you something to actually work on. So we're going to take a look at a Mr. Coffee. This whole unit here contains features and benefits. And I'll let you look at some of the parts individually. And what I would like you to do is we're going to take a couple of minutes here, and I want you to identify one or two. I would prefer two features and benefits. So for Mr. Coffee, we just need to identify features and benefits. I will leave the picture up, and I will just go ahead and give you about 2 minutes to work on it, and then we'll unmute and take a look at what you came up with. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing so that we can all see each other, and you can unmute. And we're going to go around the room real quick and see what items you picked out. And I don't know who I'm going to pick on first. Let's go to Bob Robson.
Well, the features that I would say is it's compact, portable, easy to use, and probably inexpensive to purchase. Benefits, it's a quick cup of coffee. You can use a variety of those flavor pods. You can do 1 cup at a time rather than a whole batch of or a whole pot of coffee.
Okay, all right. Anybody got anything that's slightly different?
Easy to clean.
Sure.
Okay, so is that easy to clean, Judy? Is that a feature or a benefit?
That's a benefit.
Okay.
And I put as a feature opposite of that, it has no coffee pot to spill. I'm used to seeing years and years of messes around one of these machines when it had a pot.
All right. Ian.
Mine was pretty close to that. You don't have to worry about coffee grounds. You just get everything in a little pod that you can dispose of. So that's a benefit. I guess a feature is pretty much the same thing.
Well, the feature is going to be that it's in a pod. The benefit is that you don't have the mess.
I'd just like to reinforce what Dave said. Obviously, Dave and I work together because my first feature is it makes coffee. And
but you called it a feature, whereas I called it a benefit.
Right.
Well, to me, the benefit is I don't drink coffee. I've never used a coffee machine in my life, but to me, so feature makes coffee. Benefit, I can enjoy coffee.
Probably learned if you took time to think about it, you should have discovered that some features are only become benefits with use. It can be a feature all day long. The power button is a feature. It's a feature all day long until you activate it, and now you get the benefit of the machine actually working. Or the converse of that is a benefit is not realized until the feature is used. So basically, we're talking about an equation. In whatever we're talking about, when we're talking features and benefits, we have to include both sides of the equation. You get to choose whatever the feature is. And we'll do a little exercise on that in a minute, but you get to choose the feature, but you also have to do the accompanying benefit, or you choose the benefit and the accompanying feature. But both of those have to be together in your statement. There was a sales representative that I was working with 20 years ago. So I was asked to go out and ride with him. So I rode with him, and I discovered that what he did was what's known as a feature dump, and never gave the listener, the person that he was talking to, the opportunity to learn why it was important. So he would come in and say, our radio station is, our studios are in Seattle. Our antenna is on Bainbridge Island. We have wonderful studios. We have a master control room. We've got great people that handle traffic, and great people that do this, that, and the other thing. And you could just watch the client's eyes glaze over. And it was like, yeah, so I worked with him a little bit, and all of a sudden we came into the fact that the radio station talked to about 250,000 people a week, which is actually one of the smaller stations. And so we worked on it, and all of a sudden he started saying, you know, we have 250,000 people that listen to our radio station every week. Imagine what we could do if we could harness 1% of them and send them to your store. Now, all of a sudden, the client is seeing a feature, 250,000 people, and a benefit that we have the skill to move those customers to your store. It gave the store owner the opportunity to imagine what it would do for him. So that feature and benefit, if you just do the features, it won't mean anything to them. You have to connect it to what the benefit is and what they're going to get out of it. So never, ever, ever, or always, 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 if you're going to offer a feature, make sure that you help them with the benefit. The other thing is that your feature and benefit, if you just give them a feature, your listener might make an erroneous assumption. For instance, someone looking for work and they're asked to share something about themselves, and they say, I'm a people person. Okay, we now have a feature. The listener can say, oh, people person, a busybody, not doing their work, being involved in everybody else's business, not sure we can trust this person. Much better to say, I'm a people person, which means that when my work is complete, I am available to help other people with their projects as well, which is a whole different thing. So you don't want to leave the listener, you don't want to give them the opportunity to invent their own second part of the equation. You want to be able to help them see through your words what you're doing and what it's all about. So let's identify if this is, everybody can open their mic on this. The game is to tell me whether it's a feature or a benefit and why. We rehearse in a central location.
Feature.
Benefit.
Okay, so let's go to Ian. He said it's a feature. So if that's the feature, what's the benefit?
The benefit is that it's kind of the easiest trip for the largest number of people.
Terrific. Now, who said it was a benefit? Okay, Gord, if it's a benefit, what's the feature?
I can't think of the feature, but the reason I thought it was a benefit was because you're telling somebody and they're thinking, oh, for me, that means I won't have to travel far.
Okay. Basically, we rehearse in a central location so you don't have to travel quite as far to rehearsal becomes your feature and your benefit. Or because we don't want you to travel too far for your rehearsal, we sing in a central location. So you're on the right track. You're on the right track.
Question, Greg? Isn't that sort of up for discussion? What if I live a long way away?
That's why you have to make the decision whether it's a feature or a benefit, or even if you want to mention it. You may not want to mention it.
Depending where they live.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So central location, that's going to put me in the middle of my city somewhere. And we did the very best that we could to make it easy for you to get there. If it's too long of a drive for you, or if you are no longer, as some of our older folks are, I'm becoming one of those who don't like driving at night. We're in a central location so that it's easy for us to come pick you up and deliver you. We're in a central location that's well lit and plenty of parking available. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with that. Let's try this one. We have quartet time. Feature or benefit?
to feature.
Okay, and what's the benefit?
It means that if the benefit is that if you want to sing in a quartet, or you want to learn to sing in a quartet, that we can teach you, or you have time to practice in a quartet and just not just singing with a chorus.
Okay. Anybody else?
Well, a feature, if you're interested in harmony, you have an opportunity to hear quartet.
Right. We have quartet time. I'll use it as a feature. And the benefit to you is that you become a better chorus singer because of it. Because you're learning your part, and that's going to strengthen the section.
So what you just said was a benefit to the chorus. So what I think of is, what is the benefit to the person you're actually talking to? Yes, if they get enjoyment out of the chorus getting better, then that's a benefit to them. But to me, a more direct benefit would be, I like quartetting, I'm going to get my own personal satisfaction of quartetting.
Right. Remember when we first started, we said a feature is what something has, and a benefit is what something does for me. Now we're shifting it a little bit. We want to know what your chapter feature is and how it will improve my success. Or not, okay, my as a visitor. Chapter, what's unique to our chapter, and how is it going to increase your success? I'd like you to take the first page of your elevator speech worksheet, and I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to do an inventory. Your job is to identify a feature and the accompanying benefit of your chapter or chorus. Let's just see what we get, and I'll start it running. It may not take us full 5 minutes, but I got 5 minutes for you. So what does your chapter do that's unique to you? And how does that benefit help your members or your audience? Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at what we have come up with. And this is probably far more important than anything that I say. So who's brave and want to go first? Okay, Gord.
So a feature is we sing. And the benefit is individuals get the joy of singing.
Very good.
We teach. Benefit is you can learn singing skills quite inexpensively. We have fun. The benefit is it's an outlet from your daily grind.
Okay, those are all really, really good features and benefits, and you've completed the equation. So you might want to fluff it out a little bit, but I mean, you got the nuts and bolts, and that's what we're after today. Ian, let's take a listen to you. I need to unmute.
I was actually just running down the page to write those down. Those were really good from Gord. Okay, I'm going to go back to my page here. These are a little bit more elaborate than the previous ones. Okay, so we have strength in different sections of the chorus and long experience. So it allows the beginner to feel a sense of immediate accomplishment in fitting into a group with talent and reputation. We have a welcoming environment and after rehearsal social meetings, and that allows singers to focus on the music and feel at ease and develop a sense of belonging to a team. We do musical exercises as well as songs, and we also have online tracks on our chapter website, and both of those together allow newcomers especially, but everyone, I think, to learn the songs and the techniques much more quickly.
Jim.
I started with weekly voice training, and that would improve your own singing ability. But chorus public shows, the benefit would be you could be part of a larger singing group. Quartet time, which we covered a bit already, but learn from seeing, hearing, and trying. And diverse range of talent, which means you will fit in. There is a place for you.
Art, you want to chime in? I haven't picked on you yet today.
I picked the first two that Ian had selected too. We have an older chapter, effective with, except for a couple of people, we could actually pass as a senior chorus. But I see that as a benefit because there's a lot of experience there to help people learn. So that was my feature. And we have a small chorus, which can be a benefit because you can fellowship. There's more opportunity to fellowship.
Doing a elevator speech is not the end all be all of anything. Doing an elevator speech is just another tool in the toolbox, and we need to explore all the tools that we have available. You know, I always ask the question, if the society fell apart today, would I have someplace to go sing? If the district fell apart, would I have someplace to go sing? So there's a lot of moving parts that makes this work, and an elevator speech is not going to save your chorus, but it can be a tool and can be something that you can work together on to try and come up with this chapter vocabulary. I want to talk a little bit about passion. Passion is unique to you, but you can have a corporate passion, but your personal passion is very, very important. Why do you do what you do, and what are you passionate about? I will share a passion that I have. I got to sing in a quartet for the very first time several years ago. We were singing MIC, KEY, MOUSE, and every time we hit the Y, we created an overtone. We did that tag about 4 or 5 times that particular night, and there was always an overtone on Y. All of a sudden, there's 4 voices singing and 5 notes. That became a passion to me. The next week when we came back, and I said, let's do the Mickey Mouse thing, because we created an overtone. We did not hear it at all that night, ever. It didn't happen. So I finally realized that the stars and the moon and the sun and everything has to align. You got to be perfectly good, and the vowels have to match, blah, 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 in order to get this. But I've been pursuing that as a passion for a long time. And passion propels your dreams. So I've got a few definitions of passion, because I find this the more difficult part to come up with. But the passion is the driving force behind what you do well. If you do something well, you're encouraged to go do it again because you did it well, and it becomes a passion. Singing in a quartet for me is a passion, not just because occasionally we will create an overtone, but it's that everybody's contributing, and then we get to go out and sing it for somebody, and they enjoy what they hear, and there's a lot of satisfaction in that. But so a passion, it's the driving force behind what you do well. It's the motivation behind your desire to accomplish a goal. Feeling that keeps you coming back. I do this and I enjoy it, and it lasts. Well, when I sing in a quartet on a personal level, when I sing on a quartet, if we've had a really good rehearsal, that feeling stays with me for about two days. By the 3rd day, I'm going, gee, I sure wish I could get back with the quartet because I want that feeling back. Some things that work for understanding passion. People are attracted to passionate people. So you need to remember that when you're delivering your message, passion allows the listener to understand you better. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to say, and my passion is. It is merely a statement that demonstrates your passion. Passion will set you apart. Your passion is unique to you. Nobody else is going to have quite the same passion or for the same reason. And understanding that becomes very important. I had a client 45 years ago, 50 years ago. There's a little tiny shop in Kelso, Washington, and I had just stepped into sales. And the first thing I learned about sales is that I didn't have any clients. And so I had all the no pays, low pays, don't pay, don't trust advertising clients in town. And I had one client on the books, which was a lapidary. Anybody know what a lapidary is? Yeah, Bob?
So that's cutting and polishing rocks.
Yep. So I have a lapidary shop in Kelso, and I walk into it and I introduce myself as the new sales representative. And she says, "Oh, I'm so glad you're here. I need to cancel." And I'm going, whoa, wait a minute. So we had a conversation, and I moved their commercials into Paul Harvey's broadcast because there was an opening. And I knew that we had tons of listeners listening to Paul Harvey at 12 noon. So we put these ads on and came back a couple weeks later, and I'm being told, well, they're not working. We've seen no success from the ads, so we think we better cancel. And I finally talked them into trying one last ditch effort. Lois, who was she and her husband, Albert, ran the place. And Lois had this sparkle about her. She had this twinkle in her eye. You could hear it in her voice. And I said, why don't you do the commercials? I've written all the fancy things I can do and it's not working. Let's try that. So she said, well, how are we going to do that? Because I can't leave the shop. So I came in with a cassette recorder. I created an introduction and an ending. And she basically inserted the middle part. And as I said, we're probably 1975. And I still remember what I said. I said, now here's Lois from the designer. She went through her part and I said, that's Lois at the designer's, 300 North First Street in Kelso, where the coffee is always fresh. Coffee always fresh being their slogan line. And they were nothing commercials. And Lois just said, well, did you know we have this? And did you know we have that? And did you know we had the other thing? And we put them on the radio. And 2 weeks later, their business has gone through the roof. So I tried to figure out what it was about Lois that made this work, because my part was just an announcer. It was all about her. And it's the passion that she had for what she did and the way she delivered the message touched people's hearts and had them come in. After 3 years, Lois became ill, and I did the commercials for her. She got 300 telephone calls and 200 get well letters, and they couldn't wait until she was back on the radio so they could hear Lois. And they were selling stuff all over the place. So I know that passion sets people apart, and it's just unique to every individual. And we all have passion, but we don't always know how to express it. Here's some passion thought starters for you. Our chorus can't wait to, whatever it is, we can't wait for our annual show. Our chorus can't wait until we do whatever this happens to be. We see ourselves successful in contests because we work really hard to improve our singing, and we want other people to say, to share it or whatever. When we do this, we feel good about the group. When we go out and we perform our Christmas show for the benefit of the food bank, we feel good about that. As a group, that becomes a passion. We're happiest when we sing together. We can see our chorus excelling because we're going to take another breakout right now, and I would like you on page 1 of your elevator speech workshop, worksheet, I don't know why I can't say worksheet, and give you a couple of minutes to list, 1 or 2 is going to be plenty, but this is your passion. Let's just go ahead and go around the room real quick and just see what kind of passions that you came up with. And there's a couple of folks I haven't picked on for a while, so I'm going to start with Judy.
Okay. Well, I'll make it a very short story for my passion. When Ken first started singing in Portland years and years ago now, A barbershopper who was probably famous at the time, we had no idea who he was, had died. And we went to the funeral, and I'm seeing a riser full of men from all walks of life, all chapters, crying. And so to me, this has been my driving force in the 30 years, is that I want people to emotionally connect to these beautiful songs and have joy in singing. And the nights that I get that out of my chorus, I cry. And other times I wonder, like, oh, I failed.
Got it. Ernst, would you like to share?
Well, mine are pretty short. One is I want to learn how to sing well. I've always wanted to learn how to sing well, and through the chorus I can do that. And the other is I have a passion to work for others to achieve a goal. The goal of all goals of our chorus, right? To sing well, to have a successful chorus, to also work with others to help members of the community.
Terrific. Anyone else want to jump in here? Bob, go ahead.
I guess my passion is hearing and experience ringing chords, being part of a well-prepared, good singing ensemble, and also knowing a performance is appreciated by an audience.
That it's wonderful to realize that other people are sharing the same passion that I have for hearing a well-tuned chord and a song that's well prepared. And so, although I would have first said my passion is the feeling of singing well in good harmony, I'm realizing that that's very closely tied to the feeling of sharing that passion with other people. It's like being validated because other people feel the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very personal, not corporate.
Being able to open up emotionally. Basically in life, I'm a pretty introverted guy that doesn't show a lot. But the passion that I have with the chorus is being able to have those moments when you get rid of that shell, and you're able to really get emotional about what's going on with you at a particular moment. Like the ringing chords, it only happens now and again. But when it does happen, it's scary and fantastic.
A couple other things that you need to think about is, does your message pass SWT, which is the so what test? If you were to write one of these and share it with a neighbor, friend, wife, girlfriend, whatever, boyfriend, and if their eyes gloss over and you can tell that they're saying, so what, it's time to go back and rewrite what you've worked on. Because you want to connect with people, and that takes practice. It takes writing, learning, memorizing, and then being able to recite it. You don't want to do this. My name's Greg. I'm an energetic communicator, a lifelong learner, and I love to help people find their own personal aha moments, because when they find their success, I get my success. You got to be thoughtful about it, but you have to know what you're going to say, and you can worry about how to say it once you know what you're going to say. And how you say it is much more important. Once you pass the so what test, the next thing is preparation. Someplace along the line, you got to prepare what you're doing. So here's some writing tips for you. First off, your message must be concise, condensed, compelling, and consistent. And I'll share with you why consistent is important, networking Monday through Thursday. There was a friend of mine, or an acquaintance of mine at the time, who was networking at the same frequency as I was. And one day I decided I wasn't going to talk about my radio station. I was going to talk about singing Valentines. And so I gave a presentation about, I had 30 seconds to talk about singing Valentines for our chapter. And Tom was in the room, and he was about 3 seats down from me. And I sat down and he got up and he did his thing. The next day, I got up, I did the same thing with a different networking group, and Tom was across the room from me. And I said pretty much the exact same thing that I'd said the first time. And the third time, Tom was in the room, and I stood up and I talked about singing Valentine's. And the fourth meeting on Thursday, Tom was across the table from me. And I got up and I said, I'm with Puyallup Valley Harmonizers, and we're doing singing Valentine's, and here's the features of it, and here's the benefit to you, and all this kind of stuff. So I put my little elevator speech together. As I was sitting down, Tom looked at me and said, "You sing?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, so do I. So what's the stuff you're talking about?" It took that long to permeate his brain to where he actually recognized what it was that I was saying. Your message should flow forward. A 30-second message is 60 words long. The average, I'm not sure about Canadians, but the average American hears 120 words a minute. So 120 words is a 60-second message. A 30-second message, which is what we're talking about today, is 60 words. And it works out. Your speed may vary, but primarily it's going to be 60 words. Contractions count against you, or contractions count for you. So for instance, this is an actual script that was written in one of my workshops. The target word was 60. This student came up with 72 words. So it needed a bit of a rewrite. But one of the things that we did in the rewrite is we took out the I am, I would, I am, I would, and we made it I'm, I'll, I'm. Because I am, I will are 2 words. I'm, I'll is counted as 1 word. So we rewrote this just a tiny bit, and we came up with the target words is 60, the actual number of words 60, and we use contractions because contractions sound friendlier and they're more personal. We are not talking about, we're talking about colloquial conversation, not formal writing. The other thing is that you need to write for the ear, not for the eye, and that's a whole different workshop. In speech, they tell you that you have an introduction, you have the body, you have the conclusion. Then they use a shorthand for that. In the introduction, you're going to tell them what you're going to tell them. The body is you're going to tell them. And the conclusion is you're going to tell them what you told them. So this is basically what you're going to be working on. So you're going to write your very first rough draft of your personal elevator speech. So you're going to start off by having an introduction, which would be like, "Hi, I'm Greg. I'm with Puyallup Valley Harmonizers Barbershop Men's Chorus," whatever it happens to be. And then on the sheet of paper that you have, you're going to pick out 1 feature and 1 benefit. Then from this sheet, you're going to pick out 1 passion, and you're going to write them together. And then you're going to have some kind of a closing remark, which might be, and if you're interested in what I just said, I'd love to tell you about our rehearsals, giving them an opportunity to ask questions. After you've given your message, you might want to close it by, do you have any questions? Obviously, where you present this is going to determine how you're going to deal with the closing. If you're standing up in front of your Rotary group and you're telling them about your chapter and about your passion for your chapter and why you do what you do, then you're probably just going to close it out with, "And if you have any questions, see me after the meeting." If you're one-on-one in an individual setting, you might say, "Do you have any questions?" Not necessarily, and it depends upon the circumstances. So you need to know what your audience is and what your audience is about and where you're presenting this. I think of this primarily as a small group message. I'm going to give you 15 minutes. You'll probably take about 10 minutes in order to do this. And about halfway through, I'm going to have you stop and actually count your words. But we're going to go ahead and try. And there is no right answer. There is no wrong answer. There is only what's in your heart. And time starts now. The important thing for all of these workshops is to not necessarily listen to what I say. It's to listen to what each other says, because you'll learn a lot more that way. So let's go ahead and just pretend like you've gone as far as you can go. And let's get some samples going here. And I saw Bob Robson. I hate picking on Bob all the time, but Bob was done pretty early on. So let's have Bob share. Now, what you're listening for is does he have a feature and a benefit and a passion statement of some kind within the framework of what he's done? Go ahead, Bob.
Hi, I'm Bob Robson, and I'm a singer. Most of the singing I do is a cappella singing, in particular with a men's chorus and a quartet. We have a show coming up soon, and we'd love to sing and perform for an audience. Seeing and hearing an audience's appreciation of our performances is one of the reasons we love to do what we do. Where do you get your singing?
Sounds like an ad to me, and a very nice closing line, because you're asking a question. So you're trying to draw somebody into the any comments from you guys? How about Gord? And then Fran.
Sorry, I wasn't putting my hand up for me to speak. I just wanted to make a comment on Bob's. How many words was that? I thought that was a very nice length.
70 words.
70. It didn't seem like 70, which I think is good.
Yeah, it's like I say, I used to do racetrack announcements, and I had to get a minute 30 into 60 seconds. So your speed is going to be very varied, but your speed, 60 is a guideline. Nobody's going to sit there and count your words and say, aha, that was 72 words, Bob, I'm sorry. It's the flow. And one of the elements that I liked about what Bob said was it was flowing forward. It was telling me about something we've got a show coming up. And so that keeps it flowing forward rather than drifting backwards. Fran, you had your hand up.
Okay, here goes. I'm Fran Arrington, one of the 40 members of Pacific Edge Female Barbershop Chorus. We meet weekly to share the excitement of learning and performing in a supportive and passionate environment. What fun to see the joy of an audience face and of singing together. Performance and competition is alive and well at Pacific Edge. Experience for yourself each Tuesday.
Nice job. Any comments from you guys?
Some of the English, I think I missed a few prepositions or something. I could stroke it along a bit.
I'm Ian McLeod, and I sing with the Nanaimo Tidesmen. We're a men's chorus active for 40 years, and we welcome anyone who likes to sing. It's a good activity mentally and physically, and the group provides lots of support to new members. I've found it's a great way to build my confidence in performing. You might enjoy it. I'll give you the details on when we practice.
Excellent job.
I want that one.
Okay, Judy, let's hear yours.
No, I want his. That was good. Hi, I'm Judy Galloway. I'm the proud director of our local Harmony of the Gorge Women's Chorus. Our rehearsals are a combination of learning new music skills and songs while polishing our old favorites so that we can perform in our communities throughout the year. I want to invite you to join us next week. Can I pick you up?
There's a few things that you need to remember, and some of them are devastating. Messages that don't mean anything to us are erased from memory while we sleep, which kind of tells you why Les Schwab advertises every frickin' day of the week, because not everybody has a flat tire every day of the week, but every day of the week, somebody has a flat tire. And so in the case of singing Valentine's and my friend Tom, who later he and I sang in a quartet and we were in chorus together. Yeah, but the Singing Valentine's, the first 3 times he heard it, it didn't mean anything to him. So when he went to bed that night, he woke up and didn't remember that he'd even heard the message. It was the 4th time. And in the annals of advertising, they talk basically about it's 3 times to get it to get somebody to pay attention to it. And sometime within the next 7 times they hear the message, they'll make a decision. And the decision is yes, no, and maybe. So it's really important to get yeses and maybes. So when you're out there trying to recruit for your chapter or whatever it is, maybes are good because you've hit a nerve, and now you just keep coming back at them. Your chapter message is only one, and this is probably increased since this statistic, but we hear 3 million advertising messages or see 3 million advertising messages a day. It's real easy for your message to be lost. So it's important to remember that you need to repeat your message frequently with passion and with clarity. You need to consistently be doing it. When you are sick of your message, people are now just beginning to understand it. I take you back to Singing Valentine's. I was so sick of that message on the 4th day, but that's when it finally hit home. When I'm sick of the message, people are just now beginning to understand what I'm talking about. And I do have a purpose for my message. So I want to keep my eye on the prize. And I want to remember that what I'm doing is I'm inviting somebody to my chapter to succeed in something, whatever that happens to be. That's really what I'm trying to do. Now that you've written it, and I'm advocating for verbal communication, but there are other things. If you spend all that time doing about it, you have a way of answering the dreaded "tell me about your chapter," because you've already put some thought together. You can put some on your answering machine as a new greeting. Hi, I'm Bob Robson, and I'm not home right now because I'm at my chorus, and I would sure like to have you come along. You know, one of the things that's so unique about our chorus is that we are tied into the community, and we do fundraisers for the local food bank. So you could put it, and it remains a verbal thing. In your chapter correspondence, if you put together a chapter message, you can use that in your correspondence. You can put it in your chapter literature and make sure that you do that. And you can use the short version on a business card or just wherever your imagination takes you. And it is very important to understand that you need to be concise, condensed, compelling, and consistent. I did want to share with you the saga of Puyallup Valley Harmonizers. One of the things that they did is they took time, and I was part of that, it took time to come up with a message that was consistent and for all members to use when they were talking about the chapter. And they came up with pursuing joy, excellence, and fellowship. That was a really good place to start because it was starting a chapter vocabulary. And if we had all used that message, you know, what is Puyallup Valley Harmonizers? It's the pursuit of joy, excellence, and fellowship. Now I've got 3 things that can draw a question from a listener. What do you mean by joy? What do you mean by excellence? What do you mean by fellowship? And it gives you a chance to actually answer the questions that they have. And it became, for a very short time, the driving force behind the chapter. Unfortunately, leadership soon forgot about that. If you take all the pieces that we talked about today, got together with some chapter leaders, and came up with some concrete things that you mentioned about it, and developed some kind of condensed message that is consistent throughout the entire organization, your messaging becomes a little bit easier because we are still a membership invitation organization. It's still one-on-one is how you get people in. And as long as that proceeds, having the idea. So what we talked about today is your personal message. And you can take those same elements that we talked about and move them toward a chapter corporate culture idea to have ways of expanding your ability to talk about your chapter and what it stands for. That's it for me at this particular point. So are there any questions or comments that you want to bring up? Yeah, Jim.
Just one thing, it's kind of timely. On Tuesday this week, the course was invited to send a couple of reps to the one of the local universities because we set up a bursary about 30 years ago. It was actually back to the original Edmonton chapter, the Klondike Corsman. So two of us went down there and mixed with the recipients of the bursaries, was the main thing, but also intermingling with all the other supporters and everything from the professors and whatever from the university. Now, this is a situation any one of us can end up getting into where we have an opportunity to talk about barbershop and how they chose to open up the conversations. The name tags, top half had your name on it. It didn't say who you were, what you were, but just simply that. And the lower half, you hand wrote a ask me thing, a topic. It could be ask me about my dog, ask me about my
Great
dog.
idea.
It was absolutely amazing, and it was an open mixture. We never knew anybody. That is something that we should look at, like, you know, just something you might want to look at. If you want people to ask you about singing, write down singing. Or
That's a great idea.
Thanks,
We are.
Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Everybody.
You're free to move about the cabin.